going to talk some tech.
All right.
The Sony's new handheld gaming system, the PlayStation Portable 2.
It was known as the PlayStation Portable 2 for a long time, but they kind of surprised everyone when they came out 2 days ago and said, no, it's actually going to be the NGP, the next generation portable.
So they're not even calling it the PSP.
They're not even calling it the PSP.
Well, that's confusing.
It is a little confusing, especially when they still have, the PlayStation 3, and kind of PlayStation is their brand.
Right.
Now, apparently, next generation is their brand as well.
That doesn't. I wouldn't advise that, but
I think
they didn't ask.
It might be too late. They didn't ask.
Yeah.
They should have called.
So, is it? Tell me about it.
It actually looks a lot like the existing PSP, but it's got actual analog sticks on it rather than that kind of moving pad thing. It's got two of them.
Okay, good. An improvement.
And it basically has a laundry list of everything you could ever consider adding to a portable gaming platform. So not only does it have a full set of two analog sticks, it's got the top buttons, but it has a touchscreen. It has an organic LED 5-inch touchscreen. It also has a touch back, so that the back is touch sensitive.
How does that work?
So let's say you don't want to obscure the screen when you're moving your finger around to track things. You move it around on the back, and it tracks your finger.
I hope you can switch it on and off.
Well, I think it's game dependent.
Okay.
It's interesting because I haven't seen this come up in the press before, but I'm aware of an Apple patent that came out about a year ago on rear touch-sensitive surfaces. So I'm not sure how they're getting around that, because as far as I know, Apple has that particular method patented.
Wow.
So either they have some methodology that gets around it, or it's a cross-license with Apple.
Okay, wow, interesting.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of commonality with Apple products. They're using the Cortex A9 chip in it for the basic CPU function. They're using a 4-core version. Right now, it's speculated that the next iPad, the iPad 2, and the iPhone 5 will use a 2-core version of that same chip. And unlike all of the Android tablets out there that are mostly at the high end moving to the Tegra 3 processor from NVIDIA, Sony is using the PowerVR 4-core GPU in it, which is the same GPU that it's speculated is going to be in the iPad 2 and iPhone 5 as well, on a 2-core version again.
Okay.
So very similar hardware to the new Apple hardware. They also have the accelerometer gyro combo for motion sensing.
Nice.
They have front and rear camera. We don't know the specs on the resolution yet, but they're there.
Okay.
It has Wi-Fi. It has 3G in one particular version. When they announced it on Wednesday, they seemed to imply that 3G would be in all of them, but someone let it slip just today that there would be 2 different SKUs, and that one would have 3G and you would pay extra.
So is this going to be a monthly?
For 3G, yes.
Okay.
Apparently so.
Okay.
It's not going to be like a Kindle where you get it gratis.
That makes a lot more sense, the Kindle model.
It makes a lot more sense to the user.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't make as much sense, let's say, to the mobile service provider.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what, aside from playing games, obviously this is a gaming device, but it sounds like a lot more. What else can you do with it?
Yeah, they're saying they're going to go far beyond that. With there's going to be a lot of social networking capabilities built in.
Okay.
There's apparently going to be both the traditional social networking that takes place on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on the Sony network, Sony PlayStation network.
Okay.
Apparently there will also be some kind of device-to-device communication.
Okay.
So a very local area network on that.
So you can share media from computer to TV to PSP or
between PSPs,
NG, whatever they're calling it.
Between PSPs, the assumption would be between the NGP and a PS3. That hasn't been stated, but one would assume that's what they mean by that. It makes sense now too, because with the PS3 and the existing PSP, you can already share some content back and forth.
Right. So this sounds like the holy grail of getting all of the devices into one device, so you don't have to carry around a pocket full of hardware to.
If you're a gamer, I think this is going to be the holy grail.
Yeah.
If you're someone who wants it all in a device that also provides, regular old mobile telephony and, a much wider assortment of productivity apps, you're probably still looking at something like an Android or an iPhone. In fact,
so it's not going to work as a phone?
In theory, it could work as an IP-based phone.
Okay.
There's no reason it couldn't. Yeah, one would assume that functionality is going to be there at some point. Sony has also announced and, in fact, demoed existing PSP functionality on Android devices, including their own Android-based phone.
Okay.
And apparently new Android-based phones that meet a minimum spec will be able to play standard PSP games as well.
So what do you think? Is the multi-dimensional handheld device the future, or is the single purpose device?
In my opinion, the more things you can put in one device, the better off. People don't want to carry 9 different devices. I'm certainly going to buy one, but the price point that adding all of this stuff entails is probably what's going to make or break it. I mean, if it's just too expensive, people are, especially for younger gamers, there are alternatives. There's, the Android or iPhone they've already got to play games on. There is the upcoming 3DS, especially for younger kids. Even that, the price point has gone up quite a bit, so to about $250. So, maybe price is going to actually be an advantage for some of the higher-end smartphones,
So do we know what the price point is for the NG, whatever they're
the
calling
NGP?
it? Thank you.
We do not. They haven't said.
Okay.
I've seen speculation that it could be, between $500 and $600.
Wow.
I think if it's that high, they're going to have a hard time selling them.
That's almost a PS3.
It's almost, it's more than a PS3 is now. Actually, Sony has come out and said the NGP is in fact more powerful than the PS3. In fact, the resolution of the 5-inch screen on the NGP is actually higher than the standard HD resolution that the PS3 uses for games.
Yeah.
So it's actually pushing around more pixels than the PS3.
Yeah, do people really care? I mean, do people really buy that?
Well, if you're plugging it into a TV, maybe.
It may be true, but it's not as big as the PS3.
Yeah, right. The PS3's got to be more powerful. Look at how much heat it generates. I think to some degree, maybe that isn't a marketing point, although I think fanboys will bandy that phrase about. I think, though, the fact is it's got to be more powerful than the PS3, just given what it's doing.
Right. So the price point of the original PSP was $250, and given that the new DS,
the 3DS,
3DS is
about $250.
Isn't that sort of where they need to land?
Possibly, but the original DSs were $99 or less, and I think, the fact is the PSP, at least in the United States, never sold nearly as well as DSs, and I think primarily that's because of the price point. Even though the games were, technically, visually, and probably in play dimension better on the PSP, until people stopped making them because people weren't buying PSPs, so they couldn't sell into them.
So is the NGP it's gonna have dual facing cameras or two cameras?
Front rear. Yep.
High def video, I assume.
We have to assume that.
Okay.
We don't know for certain, but that would be my assumption. They wouldn't, at least on the rear facing one, they wouldn't do it any other way.
So if there's a camera, then there's augmented reality capability. Essentially, is it? What's the ecosystem going to be like? Is it going to be an Apple closed-walled system where you have to submit your apps and stuff, or will it accept apps?
It appears that it'll be a closed system, so there will be an app store. It's going to be actually particularly closed because Sony, as they want to do, has developed an all-new memory device as well for to buy games. Yeah, it looks a lot like an SD card. It's just enough different so that it's not an SD card. Yeah. Okay. Why they couldn't even stick with memory stick, I don't know. But whatever, that's their thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So as marketers then, looking at this device as a potential communications device, we're looking at potentially, if it takes off, a new platform that we need to deal with.
Yes.
a new ecosystem.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, if people are, especially having social interaction on it, it's something we have to be aware of. I think there's going to be innovation for that platform, much as we've seen innovation in application and gaming design on the iPhone in particular, that probably will impact some of the things that we do.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There may be opportunities too if the developmental costs are low enough to actually do branded applications, that sort of thing, branded entertainment applications for consumer products,
Sure.
That sort of thing.
But short of custom applications or custom entertainment for the device, for that particular device, we need to at least make sure that our content is optimized for or viewable through the
for the screen and whatever browser's on it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any word on what type of browser it's going to have?
None that we know of yet.
Okay.
If I were to speculate again, I would guess that it's probably going to be